What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 334. And first, I want to apologize to you guys for not delivering on Monday's episode. What ended up happening was Sunday night, I recorded the episode, uploaded some of the files to my editor, and I had one specific file that I wanted to edit myself to put on the main YouTube channel, Diverse Mentality, and not on the podcast. It goes on the podcast episode, but it gets dispersed to the main channel instead of the podcast channel. And usually those videos I tend to edit myself because I can get it out, quicker in that time frame. Not to say that my video editor is slow or anything, but just in that time frame, I can let him focus on the rest of the podcast while I just do that little portion, get it out. So Monday morning, my plan was to, I woke up, and this is life, right? You have plans and then things happen and things change. So I woke up that morning. I usually either drink coffee or get an energy drink in the morning. Sometimes, depending on the mood, if I feel good, I won't get anything. I'll just drink water. But sometimes I'll get coffee or energy drink. And this time I was feeling an energy drink. So I took this car that we use for work and just getting around. And it's somewhat my mom's car as well. And I took that vehicle, went to the gas station, got my energy drink. And as I was coming back, I ended up in a car accident and almost lost my life. It's crazy, right? Life throws insane things at you. And, you like, this is what I'm saying. You plan things in life and then, something just comes out of nowhere. Thankfully, I'm alive. That's the best thing that I could wish for. I am severely in pain in a lot of areas of my body. It's very, very tough to just do daily things. And this just goes to show, appreciate your health. You never know what life's going to throw at you. And it just happened so quick that I felt like it was a dream. Like, that's how quick it happened. Yeah. So dealing with that day in and day out, no sleep, just been struggling, even just to get to this podcast area to shoot. So I hope you guys understand. A lot of stuff in the past, I want to say 2 to 3 months, have been happening in my personal life that have been really tough. But, that's life. Who am I to complain? I've been blessed with a lot of things, and life is not always going to go perfect for you. You're going to have your ups and downs, but it's exactly how you bounce back. That's all that matters. And, just be grateful for the ups and downs, up, down, whatever it is. I'm thankful for it all because I'm just happy to be here. That's it. I love talking to you guys. I love doing what I do. But yeah, so I'm struggling day in and day out just to do regular things. It's been painful and, and dealing stuff with my family that's been going on. And I'll explain all this stuff later on, maybe in a different episode, talk about more of my personal life and what's going on. But yeah, so that's the delay for the episode. I wanted to combine that portion into this portion as well, because I know Drake is doing this, not really a lawsuit. I initially thought it was a lawsuit, but he's doing this kind of petition or this kind of threat of a lawsuit. So I want to talk about that, break that down for you guys, and then just some other news cycles that have happened. And I'm going to be going over the GNX Kendrick Lamar album as well, breaking down my album review of that, what I think of the album, and some of the lyrics, with the whole Lil Wayne stuff that's going on. So I know Joe Budden said that Lil Wayne potentially has a track in the works. Mac Main completely denied that, so I'm not even going to talk about that in this whole thing, because I know some people are going to mention it and be like, oh, he said this. Yeah, I'm not going to take Joe Budden as a source for Lil Wayne. Just in my eyes, I don't see where the connection in that is. If Mac Main says it's cap, then it's cap. I'll take Mac Main's word over Joe Budden's when it comes to anything associated with Lil Wayne. Regardless, let's start the podcast. Diddy is denied bail once again. So let's go over the article. Diddy will not be going home for Thanksgiving as a federal judge denied his latest shot at bail in his federal sex trafficking and racketeering case. Judge Arun Subramanian issued his decision on Wednesday, November 27th. He cited a variety of factors in his 5-page order, ranging from the mogul's violations of Bureau of Prisons rules around communications to misrepresentations he made to the judge at a recent hearing concerning material covered during a sweep of his jail cell. The judge also said that Diddy being free would present a serious risk of witness tampering, mentioning in particular his communications with an escort who the government says participated in multiple freak-offs, referred to as Witness 1. Diddy sent text messages to the witness repeatedly, even on the day he was given grand jury testimony, some of which he deleted. The mogul's lawyers had denied in the September hearing that their client interfered at all in the grand jury process. But a chunk of Judge Sumerman's decision deals with violence. He said there is a compelling evidence of Combs' propensity for violence, the judge wrote, citing, among other examples, the 2016 video of Diddy assaulting Cassie, as well as text messages Cassie sent in its aftermath, including, "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. And I still have crazy bruising." Diddy is currently appealing his bail status in a different court, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. That case has been paused. While today's bail decision was in the works, no details were immediately available on when it will resume. The Bad Boy founder had proposed a bail package of $50 million. Yeah, we talked about this. Putting up his house, bunch of money, stuff like that, and promising that he'll never leave the house, and surveillance 24/7 and every location possible is Manhattan, Miami, Los Angeles, whatever. So yeah, denied. No surprise here. I maybe had a 20% chance he would be granted bail. It looks like he's not going to be free, and he's going to have to sit it out until the trial actually starts. And that'll be probably some of the craziest months ever in terms of hip hop media news, because I'm sure there's going to be so much stuff revealed in that. At least I expect there to be. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted and see what happens moving forward with this. Oh man, Trey Songz is practically finished. I don't know where he's going to get this money. I don't know how this is going to play out, but he is ordered to pay a cop an astronomical amount of money. Let's go over the article. Trey Songz' decision not to respond to a summons may leave him over $11 million poorer after a judgment was entered against him in a lawsuit over a 2021 incident at a Las Vegas hotel. $11 million, $11.2 million to be exact. Continuing on, a man named Tyrell Dune sued the singer back in 2023. Who, according to press reports, referred to himself as a Maryland Capitol police officer, alleged in the lawsuit that in November 2021, his wife was escorted to Songz' hotel room at the Cosmopolitan, where she was assaulted, tried to leave, and had her phone taken away. Wow, so you're messing with a police officer's wife? I don't know how that's going over in his household, too, that your wife would go and potentially sleep with Trey Songz, unless he drugged her, like dragged her there. I don't know. Dunn said he heard his wife's cries for help and was then attacked. He said the resultant injuries were severe enough that he missed a month of work. The attack has had a profound and everyday impact on my life. I still have the scarring and suffer emotionally from the attack, he wrote in the complaint. I think about the attack every day when I see the injuries to my face and body. Vegas's 8 News Now got their hands on 9/11 calls from a worker at the Cosmopolitan. He was battered in a room, and we can't go up there because we're not sure if the people are armed, the worker said during one of the calls. They battered him, and they stole his money and his chain. Songz never responded to Dunn's lawsuit, and a default judgment was entered against him on October 10th for $11.2 million. He was never criminally charged for the hotel incident. So it's like the Game situation. Game doesn't show up to court because I don't understand why not. Like, just show up, man, or have a lawyer. I don't know if maybe you have to be there in court for some things. Sometimes you can just hire a lawyer to show up. But why would you give anybody to get a chance to have an $11.2 million judgment against you? Is your life that busy and that important? Like, the only time I would ever cancel me showing up to something like that is if something, tragic, like the car accident I was in, like something tragic happened where I just couldn't make it that day. And I'm sure you could even submit that to court and be like, hey, something tragic happened that day. That's why I couldn't show up. And I'm sure the judge would accept that. That's the only excuse, because you worked hard for your money. Why would you allow somebody to go in there, sue you, and you not even show up to defend yourself? And then they get a default judgment of $11.2 million. But if Trey Songz actually did those things, then fuck him. Shout out to the police officer for winning that money, because he deserves it. Continuing on, the LVMPD has concluded the investigation into the sexual assault allegations against Songz and determined that no criminal charges will be filed, police told TMZ back in 2022. If any new evidence comes to light, the case will be reopened for further investigation. We are pleased that Trey Songz has been cleared of wrongdoing in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Investigation has officially been closed. Trey's attorneys, David Chesnoff and Richard Schonfield, said at the time, "We are grateful to the LVMPD for the professional police work done and their thorough investigation, which included findings of inconsistency in witness testimony and insufficient evidence. We are pleased that Trey can now return to what he does best, entertaining." So if they didn't find any evidence, the LAPD and all this stuff, and inconsistent testimonies, then why wouldn't you show up to court and be like, hey, this is what's happened. They didn't find anything, so why am I being sued? Nothing happened to this guy. And there you go. You could defend yourself even better. Like, why would you not show up? It makes no sense to me, man. You know, and Trey Songz has fell off the face of the earth. I don't even know if this guy's making music anymore. Let me see. That's actually a good question. Let me search up. Let me see when's the last time this guy. I remember this guy when I was in high school was on fire. I mean, every female I knew loved this guy in high school, and I was listening to him because the ladies were listening to him, and I wanted to be next to the ladies. So I was listening to Trey Songz. I was listening to Oh Nana, all these records, whatever he had at the time, Bottoms Up, Heart Attack, whatever the hell, what kind of records he had, I was listening to them. And he was on a roll in those, like, I want to say late 2000s to early 2010s. He was on a roll, man. He was doing his thing, and then all of a sudden the guy's pretty much out of here. So the last album he dropped was Back Home in 2020. His 8th studio album. How did this perform? It peaked at number 15 on the Billboard 200, which is not a high peak at all. And it looks like none of the songs charted. I guess because this is released during COVID. Maybe that's probably one of the reasons why. But yeah, it definitely, none of this album did not perform well at all. I'm sure it probably sold like 10,000, not even that. The last album he also dropped was in 2017. Tremaine, the album. This looks like it didn't really do that well either. Actually, hey, it debuted at number 3 behind Drake's More Life and Ed Sheeran's whatever the hell that division symbol. It did 67,000 album equivalent units. So 67,000 first week. And it's gone gold so far. So yeah, 2017 was like the last time he actually had some type of impact. In terms of commercially, I would say probably 2012 was the last time this guy commercially had a huge impact. That's the Chapter 5 album, which debuted at number 1, selling 135,000 first week. See, he had Heart Attack. 2 Reasons was a great record. That record. Da-da DJ turn it up. Da-da-da-da-da-da, whatever the hell that record went. That's a fire song. Yeah, Trey Songz had his time. Basically, when I was in high school, he was from when I was in high school from 2009 to 2013. That makes me very old. It makes me sound very old. So yeah, during that time, Trey Songz was dominating. Drake was popping up. Obviously Kendrick, Cole, all these artists. This new generation of artists were coming. Kid Cudi, Wale. Unfortunately, William Roberts was hot too. It was basically in high school. I was trying to defend 50 in G Unit, and the only moment I had was Lloyd Banks with Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. That saved me. That gave me this like life, saying that hey, G Unit's still hot. Everybody was bumping Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. 50, on the other hand, he had that record with Jeremiah, Down on Me. People were loving that. But other than that, mixtape wise, 50 was dropping heat. But people just, people in high school, unless they're really hip hop heads, they weren't paying attention. I was like, listen to War Angel, this shit's fire. You guys are missing out, blah, blah, blah. I was saying, listen to Forever King, listen to this, listen to that, listen to this mixtape, the Lost Tapes, listen to the Big Ten. All these tapes he was dropping, falling on deaf ears, and then he was gearing up for major distribution, all these records. Anyways, I can go on, but let's just say in high school, 50 was in my high school years, he was not. I was fighting for my life here, trying to get G Unit to be the hottest shit again. And then everybody's on Lil Wayne, and just, yeah, it was hell, man. But Banks, shout out to Banks, he definitely gave me a little breather. Beamer, Benz, and Bentley came out, and everybody's like, okay, this is hot. I can rock with this. This is G Unit. Okay, I can rock with this. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted on this Trey Songz lawsuit. It's not looking good. Default judgments, unless you got a valid reason for not showing up, they're definitely not going to overturn it, unless you got a valid reason. Like Diddy with the guy that's in prison that randomly sued him and almost won. They had a valid reason. They came up with the reason that, hey, there's so many lawsuits happening at once. We missed this one, but here's our response to it. Trey Songz, yeah, he's had a few lawsuits, but they haven't happened like all within a year like with Diddy. A bunch of lawsuits have happened with Diddy, and that's a different story. When you have that many lawsuits, I can understand missing something and not responding to something. But for Trey Songz, he's had a lawsuit here and there every like 6 months to a year and a half, 2 years. He's had a lot of different variants of lawsuits. But, hey, it is what it is. We'll see what happens moving forward. Travis Scott has officially made history. And this is crazy. This is some crazy, crazy stuff. So let's go over the article. Travis Scott has overtaken Kendrick Lamar to have the highest grossing solo hip-hop tour of all time. So if we have the actual list of hip-hop tours, Drake with his, I forget what that tour is called, man. The recent tour that he had J. Cole involved in it. He had 21 Savage. I don't know why it slipped my mind what that tour is called, but that tour is not, a solo tour. With that tour, it's not really cheating, but it's, you got other superstars. J. Cole fans are going to come. 21 Savage fans are going to come. And that adds to all the money and, and just becoming a higher grossing tour. But Travis Scott did his tour solo. Kendrick Lamar did his tour solo. I believe Nicki Minaj did her tour solo. 50 Cent, besides Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda, who really aren't. You put 50 Cent with Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda, it's not really going to bring any tickets. It's just people that it's like his hype men. So 50 did his tour solo. There's now no major acts headlining. That's what I mean in this. So let's go over what Travis Scott did. The Houston rappers recently wrapped Circus Maximus tour has grossed nearly $210 million and sold 1.7 million tickets since it began in October 2023. So this is a tour that lasted basically a year, according to Billboard. The trek in support of his chart-topping album, Utopia, saw Scott play 78 shows across 4 continents. The previous record was held by Kendrick's Big Steppers tour, which raked in $110 million. While Scott has the biggest solo rap tour, he's still some ways behind Drake, J. Cole, and 21 Savage, whose co-headlining tour, It's All a Blur tour, grossed an enormous $320 million. It has been a boom period late for hip-hop tours, with 50 Cent and Nicki Minaj also embarking on international runs that have generated over $100 million each. So yeah, very, very cool to see. I think there's a lot of factors, obviously, that play in this. How many shows you do? What do you charge average price per ticket? Do you have, obviously, co-headliners? Do you not? There's different categories for things. To me, and I'm not even saying this because I'm a 50 Cent fan. I know people are going to be like, to me, 50 Cent is the most impressive because it is such an older artist, right? All these artists that have broken these numbers are from the 2010s. 50 Cent is the only one from the 2000s. And when I say 2010s, I mean, like, hey, they dropped their first debut album in 2010 and so on. I know Nicki Minaj and Drake were popping in 2009, whatever. That's 1 year of the 2000s. I'm talking 2010 and above. It's all these artists. Kendrick, it's Drake, Nicki Minaj, Travis Scott. These are all 2010s artists. 50 Cent is the only one that's a 2000s artist. What I would like to see this will never happen, I don't think. I'm not going to say never, but I just don't think this will happen. Maybe it will. There's a possibility because Haley is all grown up now and she's married and is going to have a kid. I think Eminem should do a tour, like one final hurrah. I want to see what kind of numbers that would do. I think that would do astronomical numbers. I think he would easily, as a solo act, he doesn't even have to have nobody in the. If he did 50 under there and Dr. Dre and Snoop, oh, it's over. Like, everybody would go see that. I would go. I would buy multiple tickets in multiple locations to see that. But Eminem just doing his own solo tour, I think he would easily do 200 million. That's not even a question as a solo artist. Could he break Travis Scott's record? Yeah. Depends on where he goes, how many shows he does. You know, Eminem is a global phenomenon, so he could easily just go take up Japan, take up all these areas, and do insane numbers. It's a walk in the park in terms of selling tickets. Now, the work it would take at his age of, I think he's 50 years old or 51 or something like that, you know, it'd be a little toll on his body. You know, Michael Jackson was scheduled to do his tour, and they just kept adding dates, and the guy was 50 years old. He looked good, but obviously he was dealing with a bunch of drug problems. So congratulations, man. Travis Scott, round of applause. It seems like that whole Astroworld incident where people got killed and hurt didn't really affect him at all. He did settle that, and it's behind him, and he's moved on forward, and he's breaking records. So salute to him, and we'll see what happens moving forward with these tours. A lot of these, we're going to be talking about this when I'm talking about this next topic coming up here. A lot of these streaming numbers don't really translate to tours. Let's just say that. There's been a lot of artists that have tried touring and doing shows and have failed, despite their streaming numbers being big. And there has to be some type of boosting going on with this type of stuff. But yeah, we'll see what happens with these upcoming tours and these artists moving forward. Jay-Z's team, his Rock Nation team, has decided to sue Kansas City Police Department and its local government. Why? Let's go over the article. Jay-Z's philanthropic and social justice division of Rock Nation, Team Rock, has filed a lawsuit against the Kansas Police Department and the city's government for what they say is stonewalling their investigation into wrongful convictions in the county. In documents filed on Tuesday, November 19th, Team Rock says KCKPD has failed to comply with public records request under the Kansas Open Records Act in November 2023. The group alleges that the department has withheld documents related to claims of abuse and misconduct by officers, despite paying $2,200 in fees for access of the 225 documents provided. Team Rock claims they mostly consist of unrelated materials like personnel and training records. The lawsuit reads, Kansas City residents have suffered enormously as a result of KCKPD abuses. Some have been framed for crimes they did not commit. Some have been coerced into providing false testimony. Some have been sexually assaulted. Some have endured brutal beatings, and some have been killed. Rather than promoting a culture of transparency and accountability, the KCKPD has a long history of turning a blind eye, at best, and even covering up, if not worse, abusive and or corrupt conduct by its officers. The lawsuit highlights a pattern of alleged misconduct within the KCKPD, including accusations of framing individuals, coercing false testimony, sexual assault, brutal violence, and even killings. Team Rock argues the department has fostered a culture of secrecy and cover-ups instead of accountability and transparency. When good faith efforts are met with bad faith tactics, the fight for transparency continues in court. Truth deserves no less. The people of Kansas City, Kansas deserve no less, Team Rock wrote on their Instagram account when announcing the filing. Team Rock's efforts to gain information about the department's alleged misconduct date all the way back to 2021, when they sued the KCKPD for access to records that would shed light on complaints filed against members of KCKPD's investigation division, including documents related to the training and supervision of officers. Team Rock attorney Alex Spiro said at the time that Kansas City police provide some information through the Kansas Open Acts record, but the documents were not sufficient. Because of the Kansas Public Records Act that allows interested parties to look at various states and government documents, we're allowed to see certain files and how the government handled certain issues, he said. The government has attempted to block our access to those files, so we're suing to see what they don't want us to see. Round of applause, man. Jay-Z and Jay-Z's team for stepping up and doing this. There's been obviously a lot of corruption in America, period, whether it's from the politicians to the police departments to anywhere you look, man. Anywhere you look, there is corruption in America. And, you know, in America, though, it's just, there's better. This is, I forget who I was having a conversation with when we mentioned this. In America, this place is marketed really well. It's like a great marketing. You know, you ever see those commercials like at McDonald's or whatever, any of these fast food places or any restaurant, you look at the food and it looks spectacular. But then when you actually eat in person, it rarely ever looks like that. And that's basically America. From the outside in, it looks spectacular. The marketing has been perfect, right? It looks like this freedom land where you come here and, you know, you get to do whatever you want and all this stuff. But behind the scenes, when you pull the curtains, when you actually look deep, there's so much corruption, especially in the politics world. You know, Elon Musk is doing that whole Doge Department of Government Efficiency thing where he's looking to cut government spending because we're just spending trillions and trillions in debt. We're spending trillions of dollars within a month. It's like insane. And they're looking into documents and they're seeing like Nancy Pelosi, who's one of the political people, her daughter or her daughter-in-law or something has a position in government for being an overseer of climate change, and she's getting paid like $200,000 a year, a ridiculous amount of money to do that. Like, and they also found out that there was like $80 billion being spent just to air condition buildings that are empty, which to me sounds like money laundering, right? That doesn't sound like, because why would you air condition empty buildings? That's just like a nice little write-off to say that, hey, $80 billion went to this. First off, that's a waste of money because why the fuck are we air conditioning buildings that are empty and nobody's in? That makes no fucking sense. And two, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. So it's money laundering. That's all it is. They're just trying to write it off as something. And that's what we need. We need transparency, whether it's the political world, whether it's from the police stations, whether it's whatever department, whether it's from the school system, wherever the government has a role in, we need clear transparency. And we haven't gotten that in probably 80% of the things in America. I applaud Jay-Z and his team for suing them and saying, hey, you guys aren't being honest in these situations. There's people being killed, abused, sexually assaulted, all this stuff, and you guys are having a role in that, and you guys aren't being transparent about that. So big props to them. I mean, America's amazing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff here that, coming from where I came from, my country, where we had a war and we had nothing, coming here is like a blessing. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm appreciative of my parents for bringing us here and going through what they had to go through to get us here. So I'm not here to disrespect America in any way. I love America. I think a lot of what America is a lot of freedom. There is a lot of things that you can build billion-dollar companies here if you work hard enough and you figure out what you're doing. It's hard to get to that $1 billion. I'm not saying that everybody can be a billionaire, but you can build $1 million companies, 1 million, 2 million that are net worth, and nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to have these things where, you have these hurdles you have to get over, right? Obviously hurdles of business and hurdles of certain things. Of course, nothing is smooth, but like in other countries, they cap you, they limit you, the government tries to steal from you, all kinds of stuff, right? And the government is already stealing from us with the tax money and all that stuff. So I'm not saying that America doesn't do that and the government system doesn't do that. They do that. But, there's just a lot. This is the place where you can make it. Let's just say that because of the opportunities surrounding you. Most of the top people in the world live here, and you can find investments here. You can find a lot of things, right? But I say all that to say America is corrupt. It has its own thing. So shout out to Jay-Z and his team for doing this. I'm going to keep my eyes posted on this and see what happens moving forward from this lawsuit. Speaking of lawsuits, Kanye West is being sued again. At this point, I can't keep track of the lawsuits. I don't know what's true, what's not, but let's go over it. Kanye West is facing yet another accusation of sexual misconduct, this time from a model who accused him of sexual assault and strangulation during a video shoot back in 2010. The woman, former America's Next Top Model contestant Jen Ann, filed a suit in New York on Friday, November 22nd, per The Wrap. She claims that in September 2010, she was on the set of the video for La Rux's In for the Kill, a track for which West appears on the remix, and alleges that West chose her to be in the video by saying, "Give me the Asian girl." Then he strangled her, rammed several fingers down her throat, continuously moved them in and out, and gagged her, which plaintiff believed lasted for over a minute, to emulate forced oral sex, and screamed, "This is art, this is fucking art, I am like Picasso." The entirety of the assault, she said, was filmed. Ooh. Yeah. That's not good. And yeah, you can't do that to people. Like, hey man, I said it, there's a lot of stuff I love about Kanye, but a lot of this where there's smoke, there's fire, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out. And I'm genuinely surprised that like more media hasn't been paying attention to this. Because when all this stuff was happening with Diddy, it seems like the media has been paying attention to it. Right now, the media really isn't like talking about these things that much. Ann also names Universal Music Group and Interscope in the suit and claims that La Rux told a friend she'd been unsettling behavior at the shoot. Neither West nor Ann ended up in the final cut of the In for the Kill video. This is not West's only recent allegation of sexual misconduct. Earlier this month, he was accused of engaging in lewd sex acts, sharing naked pictures of Kim Kardashian to a former employee in a different lawsuit. So yeah, this is nothing new. He's been having quite a few lawsuits come up, some business related, where it's just employees being mistreated and stuff like that, and then some sexual assault related stuff. So I'm, like I said, I don't know what's real and what's not. Obviously, if Kanye did that to her, that is assault. I don't know if that's sexual assault, but yeah, it could be sexual assault. It looks like a forced oral type of thing. You're sticking your fingers in a girl's throat and saying this is art, and they got that on video. Yeah, you're pretty much cooked, man. You can't just do that to random people and, have people accept that. I'm just genuinely surprised that the lawsuit's now coming in. It's like, why after all these years? But I know people say that they're scared and all this stuff. And, I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is for, maybe embarrassment, stuff like that. There's a lot of reasons why people file a lot later. But we'll see what happens moving forward. If this is caught on video and this actually comes out, it's not going to look good for Kanye, man. I don't think. Kanye's stans, not his fans, but his stans definitely ride with him and have rode through with him through a lot of stuff. And I love Kanye. There's a lot of stuff that I love about him, but he has a lot of stuff that he's just kind of too extreme on, and this is, he's mentioned about having a porn addiction. And so I'm not going to be surprised if a lot of this stuff comes up. Most people that have porn addictions, for the most part, they get more extreme as the years go on. Sometimes they don't. Some of the statistics show that most people get extreme when they get more extreme with these addictions. So I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward, but definitely not a good thing if they got that on video. He's cooked for that. Kendrick Lamar has dropped a surprise album called GNX. And on this surprise album, he called out quite a few people. He called out Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne for his response to the Superbowl thing. He even sent some subliminals at Drake for what he tried to do to get, people to turn on Kendrick in his own hood, so on and so forth. He mentioned quite a few people. So let's go over some of the lyrics. And the first one I want to talk about is Lil Wayne's Superbowl situation, where everybody felt like Lil Wayne should have got the headline because it's in New Orleans and that's Lil Wayne's hometown, and Lil Wayne deserves to get the headline. But ultimately, Kendrick Lamar got it, and Jay-Z faced a lot of backlash for that because people were saying, Jay-Z's behind the scenes on the whole selection of the Super Bowl. Ultimately, people were, some people were like, hey, it's Jay-Z's fault, and some people were like, no, it's not Jay-Z's fault. Regardless, it had mixed opinions from people. I know 50 said that, hey, Kendrick deserves it, and that Drake didn't lose the battle, and then the Drake and Kendrick war because Drake is still super rich. But the only person that Kendrick feels like, really congratulated him and didn't show any like middle ground on the whole Lil Wayne situation of the Super Bowl was Nas, because Nas just said, hey, congratulations to Kendrick, and that's it. Like, he didn't say, hey, Lil Wayne should have got her, man, it's messed up that he got, tricked out of this headline spot, whatever, right? So Kendrick Lamar acknowledges that on the first track off the GNX album, which is called Whacked Out Murals. He says this: used to bump the car to 3. I held my Rolly chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. Whatever though, call me crazy, everybody questionable. Turn me to an Eskimo, I drew the line in decimals. Then he said, won the Super Bowl and Nas the only one to congratulate me. All these guys agitated, I'm just glad they showed their faces. Quite frankly, plenty artists, but they outdated. Old ass flows trying to convince me that they their favorite. This is not for lyricists, I swear it's not sentiments. Fuck a double entendre, I want y'all to feel this shit. Now, that to me really wasn't a diss. He just basically said, you know what, I'm disappointed that Lil Wayne didn't, because Lil Wayne in his video, when he's talking about not getting the Super Bowl, he didn't really congratulate Kendrick. He just talked about how he felt about not getting the headline. He was really upset, sad, stuff like that. But ultimately, he never really said, hey, congratulations to Kendrick Lamar, though. I'm, good that he got it, blah, blah, blah. He just kind of talked about how he felt about not getting the Super Bowl. So Kendrick's like, hey, man, like, I used to be a fan of you, and you didn't even congratulate me. You just kind of talked about yourself and how you didn't get it. And, then he talks about, everybody else that kind of had their say about it. And, Juvenile jumped in on it, and a bunch of people. I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of people that talked about it. And he's just saying these guys are old, washed up artists that are opening their mouths about something that, hey, it's none of your business, right? Whether I got it, whatever happened, it's none of your business. And Lil Wayne decided to respond to that. And Lil Wayne went to Twitter, and instead of rapping in the bars like Kendrick's been doing, he hasn't used any social media. Lil Wayne decided to go to Twitter. He said, man, what the fuck I do? I just be chilling and they still come for my head. Let's not take kindness for weakness. Let this giant sleep, I beg you all. No one really wants destruction. Not even me, but I shall destroy if disturbed. On me, love. I'm going to go off on this because I really don't know. Listen, Kendrick Lamar, you could say, is in his second prime right now. You could say the first prime was Good Kid, Mad City all the way till Damn. Then he had that like huge break until Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Until a lot of people, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers disappointed. And he kind of was like, you know, you would think he peaked out at that moment, right? After Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, a lot of people kind of felt like, okay, it was a good album, but it wasn't like what we expected after a 5-year hiatus, right? Then this whole battle with Drake happened, and I feel like he's got a whole second run. He's in his second prime. It's like LeBron James with the first run with the Cavaliers, the Miami Heat, then the second run with the Cavs, and now with the Lakers, right? Kendrick's in his, well, we could say the prime of LeBron is Miami Heat. So Kendrick was in the Miami Heat moment. Then he's in the second stint at the Cavaliers, right? That's where he's at right now. And LeBron, arguably, in those 4 years with the Cavs, from 2015 till 2018, was his best prime ever. The 2018 LeBron was insane. Anyways, I'm getting off track. But this is where Kendrick is right now, right? He has that Like That record with Future, Metro Boomin, does amazing, goes number one. Has the battle with Drake, even slightly a little bit with J. Cole, but has the battle with Drake, dominates on the charts, gets Not Like Us number one. Now with GNX coming out, it is scheduled that the Squabble Up, a.k.a. the Broccoli with the Haki, which went crazy on TikTok when it got previewed from the Not Like Us video. That record is on pace to go number one this upcoming week off the album. So he's going to have 3 number one records in the same year. That's never happened to Kendrick's career. Never. So you could say he's in his prime right now. He's hitting a new leg of his prime, and it's actually his prime. Even though Damn, I would say from Good Kid, Mad City to Damn was like a huge, Damn was arguably his biggest, obviously, because he did 600-something thousand first week, number one record with Humble, you know, did his thing. On that album was the highest. So for Lil Wayne to say, hey, don't disturb me, I'm a giant, and let this giant sleep, I beg you all, no one wants destruction. This is basically Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, if this ever were to happen. Mike Tyson is too old to be boxing. Of course Jake Paul is going to beat him. Is Jake Paul, listen, no disrespect to Lil Wayne, I'm not comparing him to Jake Paul and saying that, hey, he's like a Jake Paul. No, I'm just saying age prime-wise, right? Jake Paul right now is in his prime in his age, right? He's 25, 26, peak physical. So going up against a 58-year-old, 57-year-old man, boxing him, doesn't make any sense. Obviously, Mike Tyson in his prime would fucking destroy Jake Paul. The guy wouldn't even stand a second in the ring with him. But that's the thing. Wayne has gone past his prime. Wayne hasn't been hot musically since, I want to say 2013, 2012. That's probably the last time Bitches Love Me, that record, like the Carter 4, that type of era time. After that, he's really, any album he's dropped has kind of just came and went. Has he had moments of great verses and features and this and that? Yeah, of course. It's Lil Wayne. He's always going to have that. But his prime, it's gone. For him to say, I will destroy, don't wake up this monster. What happened when you were in your prime calling yourself the best rapper alive and people were attacking you at that moment? Why didn't you battle those people? Yeah, you sent some little subliminals at Jay-Z. You sent some subliminals at 50. Some of these little artists had some subliminals. You didn't go battle the battle toe-to-toe with him. And then he had this horrible Pusha T diss track. I forget what it was called. It's like Ghoul or some shit. It was horrendous. Probably one of the worst diss tracks I've ever heard. And this is Lil Wayne we're talking about. Lil Wayne, to me, is not this battle rapper. He's not meant for that. Even though he was battle rapping when he was young with Cash Money Click, he is not meant for battles in hip-hop. And at this moment, if Kendrick decides to go at Lil Wayne, I said this on Twitter and I'll say it here, Kendrick Lamar will destroy the whole Cash Money lineage. He'll just take everybody down at that point. Because why not? Kendrick is in a prime right now at his peak to me. And he's got all eyes on him. He is the number one guy right now. No disrespect to Drake, but he is the number one guy right now. 3 number one records in the same year. Hey, that speaks volumes. Right now, this is his year, period. There's nobody that's matching this year for him. Doesn't matter if Drake drops an album, Eminem dropped, great. Doesn't matter who drops an album. Even Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg dropping, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait for that album, but still, it's Kendrick's year. He's getting the Superbowl 2 next year. It's over. This is his year. And people are arguing if this is one of the best years in hip-hop ever. I could argue that a whole different time. We'll talk about that a little bit, another episode, another podcast, right? But Lil Wayne saying this is the dumbest thing you could say. Wayne has been off his prime for so long that is just, I laughed. I genuinely laughed at this. Now, could we all be, at least me, in my opinion, could I be wrong? Yeah, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to Lil Wayne go in the studio, find that fire again, light up that that we're used to, the lighter, and cook Kendrick. I would love, that's another run in hip-hop battle that would be really enjoyable because Lil Wayne's never had a battle. He's never really proven himself in the ring. He was calling himself best rapper alive and never really proved it besides dominating in terms of features, lyrics, and sales, obviously. But battles, never wanted any of that. This made me laugh, but we'll see what happens moving forward. Kendrick's not going to respond to this. He will respond in the music. And we are on pace to potentially get another project from him because on the GNX, he dropped a GNX video where he previewed a song that didn't appear on the GNX album. So that indicates that there's going to be more music coming. And we don't know when that's going to come. Kendrick just does things on his own time whenever he feels like it. So I can't wait for that. But those bars were not really dissing Lil Wayne, but we're really about like, hey, man, I'm upset you guys are upset that I'm the one that's getting this headline. I deserve it. You know, that's where basically Kendrick's coming out. I deserve this stuff. And he does. He had a hell of a year, man. Continuing on, Snoop Dogg then responded to what Kendrick Lamar said about him on the Whacked Out Murals track, the same track where he addressed Lil Wayne. And he said, Snoop posted Tailor Made, which he's talking about the Tailor Made freestyle that Drake made of AI voices of Snoop Dogg and Tupac dissing Kendrick Lamar. He said, Snoop posted Tailor Made. I prayed it was the edibles. I couldn't believe it. It was only right for me to let it go. And what Snoop Dogg did was reacted to the Tailor Made song, laughed at it, and, you know, just basically praised the record. Didn't really praise it like crazy, but he just enjoyed the record. And then Snoop Dogg responded to that bar and said, K-Dot new album GMX fire emojis. It was the edibles. He put laughing emojis, West King. So he said he kind of blamed it on him being high and not really knowing what's going on. So that was a really, a friendly kind of response and exchange. But you could tell this bothered Kendrick Lamar. You know, like, you were from the West Coast, you're supposed to be riding with me. But hey, it is what it is. And then on the same track of Whacked Out Murals, Kendrick Lamar addresses Drake paying people in Compton to get dirt on him. And he says in verse 3, guys from my city couldn't entertain old boy. So he's talking about Drake. So some people couldn't. He's saying that, the kid, the boy, he's saying couldn't entertain old boy, promising bank transactions and even Bitcoin. I never pieced it up. That shit don't sit well with me. Before I take a truce, I'll take them to hell with me. If that money got in the hands of a crash dummy, could jeopardize my family and burden the ones who love me. So he's saying, listen, this beef could have got really ugly by you offering money of random people in Compton. Because if somebody accepted that and they were a crash dummy and decided just to kill everybody, including me and my family, this would have gone horribly wrong. This wouldn't have been a rap battle. He's saying this is very, very crazy of Drake, very disrespectful of Drake to do. That's why he's not going to squash this beef, because that is a super disrespectful thing to do if Drake actually did that, right? He said, guys mad because I decided not to pretend. Y'all stay politically correct. I'm going to do what I did. Ain't no sympathy here. That shit's hilarious. It's a lot of opinions, but no power to carry it. 2025, they're still moving on some scary shit. Tell them quit their job and pay the real guys their severance. Don't insult my intelligence. I'm just here for the television. Continuing on, he said this. Okay, guys, let's settle it. These guys been fake loyal. Since y'all pandering to choose a side, let me do it for you. Okay, fuck your hip hop. I watched the party just die. Now this is where the Kendrick censors a word because of potential lawsuits, but he says guys cackling about, and then it's censored, while all of y'all is on trial. And what he mentions here, it's pretty easy to tell. He's saying people are cackling about Diddy and what he's going through, but you guys are probably going to be on trial for the same thing because you guys are all weirdos. This is the party. He's talking about the party dying. He said, guys thought that I was antisocial when I stayed inside my house. You better off to have one woman. Everything is tricky right now. So he's saying I wasn't the one entertaining all these crazy females, these parties that you guys were doing. I'm married. I was inside my house with my wife and kids. And he's like, just, hey, saying, here's some advice. Right now, it's crazy out there. If you're having fun with all these women, you're going to get caught up in something crazy and stupid. He says, you guys live in denial. A, fuck anybody empathetic to the other side, I vow. A bitch guy love bitch guys. They exist within him style. Exterminate him right now. Make Cat Williams and them proud, and the truth about to get loud. No juice inside my cup. I sober up and knock them all off. So throughout this whole verse, he's definitely going at Drake. He's talking about the whole incidents of, Drake trying to pay people to get dirty information on him. Well, Drake has responded to that. He appeared on the XQC live stream doing the stake deal that he has with the gambling stuff. And he said this.
I'm here, as you can see, fully intact. Mind, body, and soul, in case you were wondering. Right?
Mind, body, and soul.
Mind, body, and soul. You need facts to take me out. Fairy tales won't do it. Cheers to everybody.
Always live by it.
And there you go. Drake, obviously, he's going to put on this, or he actually feels like this, saying that, hey, what Kendrick and all this fake information he's done hasn't done anything to me. This guy's just feeding you guys fake information. That's not going to kill me. And I'm still here. And then he announced that him and the Party Next Door collab album is about 80% done. And then he announced a tour in Australia that he's going to do the same day that Kendrick Lamar has the Superbowl halftime show, which is hilarious timing on there. But yeah, so Drake heard what Kendrick said, and he responded to him in a slight way. And he's saying, you know what, I'm still here, man. You guys aren't going to do anything to me. So that's essentially the disses / responses from each person that was mentioned on the project, even though Drake wasn't directly mentioned. We know a lot of some of the stuff that even moving forward when Drake releases the album with Party Next Door, there's going to be some lines going at Kendrick. Their beef is not over. They're going to subliminally diss each other, and that's just is what it is. We're always going to get that. And there are going to be some lines where people are going to reach and be like, hey, this is about Drake when it really wasn't. I think only this track really mentions anything about Drake. There are some tracks here and there that I saw where some lines can seem they're at Drake, but to me, the Whacked Out Murals, which is actually the title comes from his mural being crossed out with OVO and destroyed. So that's as clear as day that this is a track addressing all the controversy, including Drake, including Lil Wayne. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of the track? I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great start to this project for sure. And Drake has decided to not officially sue, but put claims out there against his own record label that they are manipulating streams to help his rival, Kendrick Lamar. Why is he putting out those claims? Let's break down both of these quote-unquote lawsuits / petitions, and let's talk about where Drake is coming from with these two petitions that he put out. Yes, he put two back-to-back out. And then let's talk about why he possibly did this and what could come of this. The first petition that he put out was Monday, November 25th, and this was shocking to everyone. Everyone thought it was initially a lawsuit, but when people went over the paperwork that was released, it was basically a threat of a lawsuit if Universal Music Group didn't reveal certain details that Drake and his team wanted to see, which is on the back end of streams and employees that got fired, hired, stuff like that in order to help. His basically main issue was in order to help Kendrick Lamar and his Not Like Us streams get boosted. Because if you guys don't know, Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us basically has beaten every record Drake held in the streaming world, whether in hip-hop or just generally in music. He beat God's Plan, which was Drake's highest streamed song in terms of a couple of weeks. He kept just beating that record within a day. He beat that record of what that song did in streams. Then he beat another record and just kept beating records to becoming the biggest hip-hop song in the streaming era. So that obviously raised some eyebrows with a lot of people and made assumptions that Kendrick is potentially boosting his numbers because a lot of people pointed to YouTube and said when Drake's Family Matters dropped, it showed like an hour ago was uploaded and it only showed like 94,000 views. And then Kendrick Lamar's Meet the Grams was like 30 minutes ago uploaded and it showed like 900,000 views, right? That's a huge discrepancy. But I mean, that with the YouTube stuff, you can't really gauge that because YouTube has delays and stuff. That's just how it goes. We on the back end, us content creators, we can see real time what the video is doing in numbers. But you guys that are watching the videos, you guys will see delayed numbers. That's just how it goes. That's why sometimes when a popular artist drops a video and you see like, I don't know, 500,000 likes and the video only has like 50, 60,000 views at the moment, it's because the likes is real time. Like you click a like, it pops up real time. The views take a while. They used to have real time on YouTube, but as the years went on, they kind of, I don't know, they got rid of that or their servers couldn't keep up with that. So that's kind of the explanation for that. I know a lot of people got confused on that end and were accusing Kendrick of that, but now Drake is stepping into it and saying, hey, there's something going on here behind the scenes and I don't like it. So I'm going to put this petition out and attack not only my own label, but also every distribution company around there. And that's when the second petition came out the following day on the Tuesday. And this second petition dragged iHeartMedia and some other publications. Drake's team used academics as a source. They also attacked NFR Podcast and just a bunch of platforms used them as examples and sources for what they're accusing UMG of doing, which is boosting numbers. So let's go over the first one, and then we'll go over the second one. And then, like I said, I'll talk about what I think and what's going to come out of this. In the first filing, Drake claims that Universal Music Group, the parent company of both his label Republic and Kendrick Lamar's home of Interscope Records, used bots and payola to boost the popularity of Not Like Us on streaming services and radio, ensuring it would become a mega hit. Now, the interesting thing about this is, of course, both Kendrick Lamar and Drake are under Universal Music Group. These are artists that are essentially on the same team, but not really. Obviously, Drake's on Republic and Kendrick Lamar is on Interscope Records. But at the end of the day, it's like Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen owns Audi. They own Porsche. They own Lamborghini. They own Bugatti. They own, I don't know, a plethora of car brands. At the end of the day, Volkswagen wins. Doesn't matter if Audi sells. Doesn't matter if Volkswagen sells. It doesn't matter if Bugatti sells. And Audi is in competition with Lamborghini sometimes with the Lamborghini Urus and the Audi RSQ8 and then Lamborghini Huracan with the Audi R8. I'm just using these examples as the best way to kind of explain it. When a big company owns a whole branch of things, to them, it doesn't really matter if one's in competition with the other because it just helps, the brand, a company itself. So Universal Music Group, at the end of the day, enjoyed the battle that was going on with Kendrick and Drake because they were boosted in their sales and their popularity as well. And Universal likes that. But Drake is claiming that Universal was picking a side, essentially taking a side and saying, we're on this side of the team and we're going to help this side of the artist. And there was conspiracy theories as to why that happened, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's just talk about the facts of what Drake is claiming. This whole thing, it seeks pre-action discovery from Universal Music Group and Spotify to allow Drake to identify appropriate defendants and pursue a lawsuit alleging violations of Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations RICO Act, as well as New York's Deceptive Business Act and False Advertising Act. Regarding a potential civil RICO, it points to predicate acts of wire fraud, mail fraud, and or bribery. So on this one, he's basically aiming his sights on Universal Music Group and Spotify and saying that Universal Music Group and Spotify were playing with each other to boost the Kendrick Lamar Not Like Us streams. Because a lot of people on social media, not a lot, but people they were asking, hey, Alexa, play, this song. And it would just pop up as Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. But when you actually break it down, there would be certain words that would match certain songs, and Alexa would just select that song. And here's the thing that I want a lot of people to understand. And there's actually proof of this. And a good example is actually 6ix9ine, right? When Drake dropped Scorpion, there is literally an old tweet in 2018 when he dropped the album where Spotify had their whole page surrounded with Drake's album. And the top reply, and this is no joke, you can go in the Twitter history when Spotify tweeted this. The top reply was, I'm sick and tired of seeing Drake. I'm getting recommended Drake on everything. He's all over. I don't care about Drake. That's literally one of the top responses to that, which is crazy because that just goes to show that every artist has their moment where they get pushed more than other artists, especially if you're a superstar at the level of Kendrick, Drake, Bad Bunny, Beyonce, whoever at that level, they do get pushed to the masses, like aggressively. For the most part, not every artist, and some artists don't play the game, but a good example of why I mentioned 6ix9ine was because when he had that whole, snitching thing and the industry basically turned their backs on him, it was clear as day he was getting blackballed. None of his new songs would be on the main page at all, and that just shows you they can dictate things. They can dictate what gets pushed out there more. And that's all this is. It's always been like this. Radio stations play a song over and over and over again, so it gets stuck in your head and you end up liking it. TV spots, back in the day, artists would show up in a lot of different areas to promote their albums, whether it was 106 in Park, Rap City, whatever, but there would be certain artists that would get better placements, better commercials, better special TV events where, I don't know, I remember MTV used to do this MTV Diary where they would have a certain artist talk about their day, what they do during the day during their album release. And then there would also be events like Access Granted, which would be behind the scenes of a music video to promote that artist's music video that's coming out with a single. So there's even back in the day, there were moments like this and things that you could pick out where it's clear as day they're pushing a certain artist a lot more. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem, and this is where Drake points out, he says they're predicates of wire fraud, mail fraud, and or bribery. Bribery is called payola. That's a classic old term. Payola is illegal. It's basically paying a DJ or somebody at a radio station to play your song secretly under the table. And the problem with that, the reason why it's illegal is because that is basically being sponsored and not telling that, you got bribed to play the song and that you don't actually like the song. You're not just playing it because it's a song. You're playing it because you're getting paid. And that applies to me, right? If I do a sponsorship deal and I'm pushing a product to you guys, I legally have to tell you guys I am sponsored by them. When I say I'm sponsored by them, that means that, hey, we did a deal where I got some type of money to talk about this product on my video. And that's all this is. But if you're doing it under the table, if I was pushing whatever, a product here, a water bottle I have here, and I was putting in the middle of the podcast, and I didn't tell you guys I was sponsored, I was just drinking it saying, wow, this is amazing water, man. You guys should check it out. Then if I was paid and I didn't disclose that, it's illegal. I can get sued for that. So one of you guys can come up here and be like, hey, he pushed this product. He was getting paid. How to tell that is very hard, but if you're constantly pushing something to somebody and there's no clear sponsorship, there's something going on there. Have I talked about certain products that I like, certain things? Yeah, I've done that before, but I'm not sponsored. If I mention it every day, then obviously eyebrows will rise. And that's basically what Drake is saying, that there was something going on behind the scenes where people were paying to have this record pushed to an astronomical level. Now, the second, kind of lawsuit or threat of a lawsuit names iHeartMedia as a respondent and accuses UMG of defamation and claims the music giant could have halted the release of Not Like Us, which falsely accused him of being a pedophile. It also seeks to determine whether and how UMG funneled payments to iHeartRadio and its radio stations to promote Not Like Us. So now Drake is saying, you guys deliberately pushed this song accusing me of being a pedophile. This is something that could forever ruin my image. This is something that halted me releasing music because it's destroying my image, and I couldn't even put out music during this time because I was getting called a pedophile this whole time. Now, the funny thing about this and, making this claim, which I don't like this part of it because, Drake, you were claiming things towards Kendrick Lamar that there was no proof of. This guy was an abuser. He got his friend got his wife pregnant. Dave Free got his wife pregnant. That's what the kid's not theirs, and that's a bunch of stuff that Kendrick Lamar could easily sue you and be like, that's defamation. You're destroying my image of being this guy who is not a father, a loving person, whatever, or abuser. That's huge as well. So I don't like that aspect of it. Is saying, oh, you guys are promoting this image that's destroying my image. You did the same shit, So that part I don't really like. Continuing on, Drake claims that he already has sufficient evidence to pursue a claim for defamation against UMG and may tack on claims of civil fraud and racketeering based on what other information comes to light from depositions. So he's saying, hey, once I get more information on this situation, I will take this even further. And he claims that he has proof and more evidence that this happened. Now, did he expose that in these basically threats of lawsuits? No. Universal, though, once this came out, Universal responded, and they denied it immediately. They said this: the suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. We employ the highest ethical practices in our marketing and promotional campaigns. No amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans choose the music they want to hear. Now, the important thing out of all this to note that none of these pre-action lawsuits, or these threats of lawsuits were ever against Kendrick. This is solely against the label that he signed to and any other party that had a role in distributing his music. Now, let me break down some key points in all these documents that I went over, which is really long. But the first one is that Universal Music Group paid bots to artificially inflate numbers. That's the first accusation that Drake has against Universal. And they said that they paid bots to boost the Not Like Us record. And he cites one source, which is hilarious, and it's academics, who on a live stream interviewed somebody, and this person said that he was paid to fabricate 30 million Spotify streams for Not Like Us. He said he received $2,500 via Zelle and was promised a percentage of the song's profits. That's where that guy kind of lost not only academics, but lost me as well. Because to boost a song, it's very hard for anyone to get profits off a song. A point off a song is what they call it. Points off of records or albums and stuff. You have to be very involved in the song. Like, it has to be the producer, DJ Mustard, Kendrick, whatever. Like, people that really worked on this record. For you to get points just for just boosting numbers is very far out there. It just doesn't make any sense. That would be genuinely surprising, because this guy would end up becoming super filthy rich for just boosting some numbers. Now, I could see him getting paid $2,500 to boost some numbers. I could see that. That I could see. That's nothing that's far-fetched. $2,500 is nothing to Universal. That is pennies. That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket for them, right? And to get 30 million streams boosted out of that, that's a good look for them, right? It's a good look for Kendrick, good look for Universal, all that. But to get a point off the track and say you got money off it, that's something. That's a weird source to cite in terms of Drake's side and accusations. Another thing that Drake noted was that Universal Music Group gave Spotify a 30% discount to license Not Like Us. Now, of course, Universal owns majority of their artists' music. They have deals with certain artists. Some they own their masters, some own publications, whatever. But Spotify has to pay Universal a percentage of the revenue in order to use that music on their platforms, which is licensing. That's basically what it is. Drake claims that Spotify and UMG did a specific deal for Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, where the label would charge the streaming service 30% less than usual to license Not Like Us, which means it would put more money in Spotify's pocket to boost that song right on their platform. In exchange, Spotify would recommend Not Like Us to users who are searching for other unrelated songs and artists. Now, here's the problem in this. This is what I figured out. I didn't really know about this, but there is a program on Spotify. It's called Spotify's Discovery Mode. And they literally lay out the rules on this, and they make it clear as day. This program started to help artists that really aren't that big to boost their face on the platform and to get recommended. So they make it clear as day that, hey, we have a program for this that actually helps artists boost their stuff. And they make it clear as day. They say Spotify takes a 30% royalty commission, reducing the amount the label and artists make off that song. So Drake is saying it is flipped, that Universal let them have 30% more so that they could fill their pockets as long as they recommended the song. But Spotify's Discovery Mode is saying that they take 30% more of the song in terms of revenue. But, hey, I don't know. Spotify does have that type of platform, but it isn't mentioned in that paperwork. This platform isn't mentioned at all. So, it is possible that UMG and Interscope opted Not Like Us into Spotify's discovery mode, which would be, by the way, entirely legal. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That is legal. There's nothing wrong. Drake can't sue. Nobody can sue about that. If UMG is willing to take 30% less money off the song to boost the record, they can do that. They have every right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's clear as day. That's nothing behind the scenes. That's not like hiding like payola where you're paying under the table. UMG is also accused of this, of paying Apple to have their digital assistant Siri purposely misdirect users to Not Like Us. The filing cites a video made by Hip Hop DX's own Jeremy Het, where he demonstrates that when asking Siri to play Certified Lover Boy, it would play Not Like Us instead of Drake's 2021 album. What the filing does not mention, however, is that Siri played Not Like Us because the song features a reference to Certified Lover Boy, and the technology relies on lyric recognition. What does he say on Not Like Us? Certified Lover Boy, certified pedophile. Wow. So that's a horrible citing for a source. And Jeremy actually followed up and said, you know what? Hey, this is why it's doing this. Continuing on, UMG, it accuses UMG of engaging in payola to boost radio play of Not Like Us. So UMG are also accused of good old-fashioned payola, the illegal act of paying a commercial radio station to play a song without the station disclosing the payment to increase airplay of Not Like Us. While the filing does not state which stations were involved in this alleged scheme, it does accuse UMG of using third-party intermediaries to funnel money to radio employees. Now Drake also drags in social media influencers, because there was also talks about, maybe social media influencers, they're not getting copyrighted on their songs whenever they review Kendrick stuff, and they're getting paid. But whenever they do Drake stuff, it does get copyrighted. So, as a content creator myself, right? What would I focus more on? I would focus on the one that's not copyrighting me because I actually want to make money off what I'm doing. The one that's copyrighting me, I want to have that much of a favor, towards, because I'm not making any money off copyright. So Drake is saying, this is going to using this as another excuse as to why he believes UMG is against him. Drake's filing further accuses UMG of paying social media influencers to promote Not Like Us on their platforms. The filing claims that UMG paid NFR Podcast, which has hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube and X, to promote and endorse Not Like Us, which he claims is a form of payola. The filing does not disclose the amount the label allegedly paid NFR or if there were any other large social media accounts involved. It also claims that in an unprecedented move, UMG removed the song's copyright restrictions on YouTube and Twitch, further incentivizing influencers to spread Not Like Us. Now, I'm not a reaction, channel. Yeah, I'll go live sometimes and do album reactions and stuff, but I don't know if this is true or not. I should have checked it out and tested it out for myself, but there were some creators saying that the copyright was gone and then it came back and all this stuff. So I don't know what's true in that. Only the creators that were doing reaction videos can show proof if they actually made money off the stuff. Hey, that could be a move on Kendrick's part, though. That could be something that has nothing to do with Universal. Depending on how Kendrick's deal is with Universal, Kendrick could probably tell Universal, hey, don't copyright it. That's a smart move on Kendrick's part. Hell, that's a smart move to any rap battle. Why wouldn't you want people, the public, reacting to your music, especially if you feel your music is better than the other artists that you're beefing with? You would love for them to react to it. That just makes people more excited to, react to your music and actually, give a shit about it. That's a smart move on Kendrick's part. If he was the one that, there's nothing wrong with that. I see no issue with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a smart chess move that Drake should have done himself. But I don't know. You don't know what these label things. Maybe Drake has issues with UMG and he told UMG to do that. Or maybe he saw Kendrick do it and was salty that Kendrick did it and he didn't think of it. I don't know. But there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts around that, right? Another thing that it says is that one of the wildest claims is that UMG fired employees that were considered loyal to Drake in order to cover up its conspiracy to turn Not Like Us into a smash hit. It does not say how many employees were allegedly let go by UMG, and it is not known if the employees themselves are seeking action against the company. So if Drake is making this claim, that means Drake, with whatever employees he knew at Universal Music Group that were close to him, that were supporting him, he would have to have now a team of people that were fired to back him up, because that's a wild claim to make. If these people were legitimately fired for supporting Drake, they're mad too at Universal. So why wouldn't they join Drake in attacking Universal? And that's what I think would happen when the actual lawsuit comes out, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Another thing is UMG blames Kendrick Lamar and even threatened to sue Kendrick if Drake were to file a lawsuit against UMG. So Drake claims that he has attempted to mend his relationship with his longtime label, but that UMG have refused to engage in negotiations. Instead, the filing says that UMG has insisted that Drake should initiate legal action against Kendrick rather than UMG, and even threatened to bring its own legal claims against Kendrick, presumably for allegedly faking streams and engaging in payola, if Drake were to pursue claims against UMG. That's interesting in itself. So Drake might be doing this just to have problems more on Kendrick's side, so that UMG can attack Kendrick as well, and they can all get entangled into all this crazy web of stuff. Filing also alleges that Drake's pockets have taken a hit because of the success of Not Like Us. Although it doesn't get into specifics, the petition describes streaming as a zero-sum game where the popularity of one artist directly affects that of another. Which, in a battle, here's the thing. I don't think Drake, the only way Drake could prove this is if he dropped an album, right? Not these freebie 100 gigs, songs with no promotion, no videos. Like, the way Drake could prove this is if he dropped a new album and it just did horrible. Like, it did. What is horrible for Drake? I think 200,000, which is kind of crazy because a lot of artists doing 200,000 would be amazing. For Drake, that would be very, very low numbers. That would be like, whoa, like he's always done 400, 500, 600, a million, whatever the amount. He's always been in that range. He's never really dipped on anything under 300,000 of an actual project, by the way. I'm not saying like these freebie tapes or whatever the hell he does. So doing let's just say he did 150, 200,000, that would be insane. That would be a huge drop from what he normally does. And he doesn't get any hits. Let's just say barely any of the songs chart. Like, then Drake would have a really good case. So I think this should be something that should be down the line. But hey, Drake, is Drake, so he's gonna do what he thinks is best. Continuing on, it says UMG's plot was partly motivated by Interscope executives wanting to boost their own profits. So the filing lays out alleged motivation behind the scheme, claiming that Interscope and executives were looking to maximize their own profits as part of an annual incentive program. It specifically accuses Interscope CEO John Janik of being incentivized to inflate the success of Not Like Us in order to secure a bonus payout from UMG. That is wild if that's true. So continuing on, the second petition, filed in Texas, centers around allegations that UMG defamed Drake by releasing Not Like Us. While Drizzy is not actually suing Kendrick Lamar, the person who made the allegedly defamatory remarks, he is accusing UMG of facilitating the claims of him being a sex offender, engaging in pedophile acts, harboring sex offenders, and committing other criminal sexual acts. Drake claims that UMG were aware of the content of the track and had the power to halt the release of the song or edit its lyrics. He further alleges that UMG amplified Not Like Us to cause damage to his reputation, with the aim of increasing revenues for the company. What's interesting is an anonymous lawyer told Rolling Stone that defamation is really, really hard to prove, especially when you engage in similar battle yourself. I think if this wasn't in the context of a rap battle and Drake wasn't dissing himself, he'd had a lot of a better claim. So he's basically saying, you accuse Kendrick Lamar of being a deadbeat father, of being a domestic violence person, and all that child stuff of, not being the father of one of your kids and all this stuff. But when Kendrick does something back to you, all of a sudden there's a problem. That's where he's going to have issues with. That's what I'm saying. Like I was mentioned earlier, it doesn't make any sense to bring this stuff up. Now, does he have a good point of UMG not censoring certain words of the song when it was released on streaming platforms? I think, he does have a point in that, because certain things you can't sue for. Why are you profiting off of somebody calling me this, right? And it can go both ways, right? Kendrick Lamar could add some of the stuff, but this is what the tricky thing is, right? In today's time, rap battles, like back in the days, rap battles would be on mixtapes, on free projects. There would be no mainstream way. Like, these diss tracks wouldn't appear on albums. It would be rare if they did. Obviously, Ether and, Back Down from 50 and records like this, obviously there would appear some diss tracks, but the really crazy ones, for the most part, they were on mixtapes. They were just on free platforms and, DJs and like underground stuff, people were making money, but labels for the most part were just making money off the hype, which then would relate to album sales and stuff like that. But now that everything goes on these streaming platforms and people want to hear the stuff, it does play a tricky role, right? Continuing on, it says, Drake speculates that UMG may have secretly paid media giant iHeartMedia to play Not Like Us on their media radio stations across the country. Drake has been unable to confirm whether any iHeartMedia radio stations were among the stations paid as part of UMG's pay-to-play scheme, or whether there were any direct payments from UMG to iHeartRadio to promote Not Like Us, the filing reads. Given iHeartRadio's status as the number one audio company in the country, he believes that UMG engaged in similar tactics to drive radio play of Not Like Us on iHeartMedia stations. So UMG never responded to iHeartMedia stuff, the second filing, but they did respond to the first one, obviously denied it. But that's essentially the gist of these two filings. Drake feels that there's something going on behind the scenes, and it never made sense to him as to how big Kendrick Lamar got. But I'm going to fight back on that. Now, this is where I get into portions of conspiracy theories and my opinions. I'm going to fight back on the theory that Kendrick Lamar shouldn't be that big, right? It's a surprise to a lot of people. It shouldn't be a surprise because Kendrick is in the big three. I always said, and this is back in 2017 when I wanted them to battle because I knew this thing was brewing for years. I always said it would be the biggest battle in hip-hop in today's time because Kendrick is number 2 in terms of commercial. J. Cole sometimes would get a number 2, but Kendrick would take the right back, right? J. Cole would have a fluctuation where he'd be number 2, number 3, number 2, number 3. And even like maybe a split second, number 1. Kendrick had his moment where he's number 1 for a split second with Damn. He had that kind of killing it. I think J. Cole had that moment with 2014 Forest Hills Drive. So, they would have moments where they would switch spots, but for the most part, Drake commercially was number 1. The numbers don't lie. I mean, the guy was dominating. Hit records, constantly out there promoting, doing his thing. So when the number 2 guy battles you, and I don't know, you could argue what song's better, whatever. I know everybody has their own opinions, but when he delivers great records, I think he did. I think anybody that's not a huge stan of either side would admit that both these artists delivered great diss tracks. I feel like they both delivered in their own ways. I think Family Matters is a great track. I think Not Like Us is a great track. Make It the Grams, Drake's Push-Ups, whatever, right? I think I'm pretty in the middle with this. I'm not really huge leaning on one side or the other. I think both artists are great and both I've enjoyed throughout the years. But if the number 2 guy challenges you, yeah, he's going to become big. He's going to become way bigger because this is something that the whole world is watching, especially with social media. Everybody was on this. Everybody was watching it. And there is no surprise that Kendrick took that moment and owned it and did his thing. So Drake being surprised that the numbers were getting boosted and inflated or the numbers were crazy, there shouldn't be because you're the biggest artist. Drake himself said, hey, you're getting hot off me. He's said that millions of times. So why are you getting surprised that he's getting hot and bigger off of your battle? That's where the confliction comes with me, right? It's like you say, oh, you're beefing with me because I'm the hottest artist. You want to get hot off me. But then when the person gets really hot off you, off the battle, you're accusing of boosting. That doesn't make sense. At least if you guys get where I'm coming from, that doesn't make any sense. The other conspiracy theory that's out there is that Drake has been having issues with the Universal Music Group for a while. And he's hinted at it throughout the years in certain songs. I don't know what the 30 for 30 freestyle. I think he said something about, oh, people conspire me, take me out, or whatever that 30 for 30. What does he say in that bar for bar, 30 for 30? He said this, never thought I'd be talking from this perspective, but I'm not really sure what else you expected. When the higher ups have all come together as a collective with conspiracies to end my run and send me a message. And then he hinted on it on the Scary Hours 3. He's hinted on it throughout here and there. He's always hinted at it. So he first did a deal of like 200 something million. And then in 2022, he re-upped a deal worth 400 million, which was like the biggest music deal in the history of music. And apparently that was coming to an end. And Drake wanted to, or it was getting close to an end, and Drake wanted to do another deal that was allegedly worth like 600 million. But UMG didn't like certain things, and things were getting halted. So what this reminds me of, and I know this really well because my favorite artists struggle with this, is 50 Cent. When he was having issues with Interscope Records, it clearly affected his music career. And it happened right when he was battling Kanye West. And you guys can go watch my video, 50 Cent versus Kanye West, what really happened. And you will see Interscope Records deliberately leaked music videos, leaked songs, fucked up his whole launch of his album. And Kanye's went perfect. Like, everything went right. There's nothing that went wrong. His whole launch was perfect. 50 was having issues. And a lot of it had to do with behind-the-scenes stuff with him and Jimmy Iovine. Because 50 could have sued. 50 could have sued easily. Because 50 could have said, hey, there's a conflict of interest here. And this all happened with the game. When he was beefing with the game, you know, Jimmy Iovine still kept the game under Interscope. He just moved him over to Geffen, which is like a sister label of Interscope. But you have a guy that's attacking your own artist on the same label, which was 50, destroying his image and his brand. And you're funding that. Jimmy Iovine was funding Game to drop his second album. Jimmy Iovine was funding Game to drop his third album. That's funding that's coming to him. So you're funding a guy destroying your other artist over here. So 50 could have easily sued. But I think the reason why 50 never sued is because he would have had to have had Dr. Dre involved and Eminem involved. And his loyalty to them, he probably didn't want to do that. And, 50 is not really the type of, it would have been, Game would have called that out and been like, you're a bitch, you're suing, like, you're taking this shit to court, you're a snitch. Back then, it would have been looked at way differently. I'm telling you, hip-hop back then was way different than it is now. It wouldn't have been broken down by creators like this. It would have been in some articles, and people would have called 50 a snitch. So 50 kind of did the right move by not suing. But it would have been interesting to see if he would have sued Interscope, what would have happened out of that. Because he is a perfect example of a label going against you and blackballing you and having you basically fall off the face of the earth. I mean, it was clear after the 2007 thing with Kanye, label wanted nothing to do with him. His Before I Self-Destruct album was poorly marketed. Label could care less about that album coming out. And yeah, so Drake, there's conspiracies that going around that Drake's having issues with the Universal Music Group, with Lucian, who's the CEO. And there's some conspiracy saying that Drake signed a ceasefire with Palestine and Israel. And, Lucian is Jew, Israeli, and there's conflictions happened there that, he didn't like that Drake signed that ceasefire. But that's just all like really out of their conspiracy theories. I do think Drake does have an issue with his label. I think there's something going on behind the scenes. And I always said that Drake should go independent. He doesn't need a label. Will the music get pushed as much? Probably not. But Drake is basically a billionaire. I wouldn't be surprised eventually it comes out that he's a billionaire. He's really, really, really filthy rich. Like, I saw the guy fucking gambling millions of dollars like it's nothing. The guy's rich. And there's reports that he actually owns his masters, which is worth an astronomical amount of money. And I'll never forget, there was a record label guy getting interviewed and said basically Drake is like in the best position of artists has ever been in their lives. Like, he owns everything of his and makes hundreds of millions of dollars like it's nothing for the label and for himself. So there is, something brewing behind the scenes before this Kendrick beef. So for people to say that, oh, he's only bringing this up because of the beef with Kendrick, no, I do have to defend Drake on that side. He has been mentioning this for years, subliminally in the music. And, it worked out in 2022, but obviously with what's happened in 2024, it seems like he's having more issues with his label. And to publicly claim UMG is deliberately trying to destroy him, tensions are going to rise even more. It's not going to get better anytime soon. There are also reports that this whole thing, if this actually goes to court, Drake is going to be suing for roughly $2 billion, which I can see. I can see that amount being. And there are people saying that Drake is fighting for artists. That the bigger picture in this is to not focus on Kendrick Lamar, but to focus on exposing the music industry for doing backhanded things like paying people under the table and inflating numbers and streams. J. Cole has even called out the inflations and streams. We got to talk about another example is we got to talk about how certain artists have insane streaming numbers, but they can't even do tours in America. They can't sell tickets at all. So what does that say? That says that your music is fabricated. The numbers aren't really there. If you're doing 100 million streams on a song and you can't even fucking sell out 2,000, 3,000 venue, 5,000 venue, a tour in America with 5,000 people per show, then clearly there's something's going on there. There's a weird connection there that's not happening. Now, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, I miss the old days where I had to physically buy albums. Back then, they were boosting. They were doing under the table things. Back then, it was harder to get caught though, because less social media and people get involved. But back then, they were paying under the table to have certain artists pushed more. They were definitely buying copies of albums. Birdman actually got accused of buying a lot of copies of Lil Wayne's The Carter 4 to get it to 1 million sales first week. He got accused of that a while ago. Carter 4 came out in 2011, so he got accused of that back then. I'll never forget it. And that's possible. You could inflate CD sales. Now, was it a little bit harder? Yeah, but it was easier to get away with as well. Nowadays, I feel like it could be harder to get away with in today's time. I don't know. It could be easier to get away with. I just think it's easier right now to inflate numbers than it is to push album units and sales and inflate those, I think. So that's always been happening in the music industry. There's always behind-the-scenes stuff where certain artists get better treatment than others. It's clear as day. I mean, if you can't see that, then I don't know what you're not seeing. You must be blind as Stevie Wonder here. With all this being said, I think there is 2 ways this can go. One, this backfires on Drake, and the label just destroys him because the label, could potentially, if there's any, here's the thing, right? With Drake, pre-suing and confidently saying that what Kendrick Lamar said about me isn't true, then if Universal Music Group doesn't have any dirt on Drake, because I think Universal Music Group, if this escalates to lawsuit, is going to play dirty with Drake. They're going to try to dig up any dirt they can find on this guy to destroy his image completely. Universal is a powerhouse. They're worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. I don't care how big an artist is. You will not beat that. Michael Jackson struggled against Sony to beat that. Did he win a lot of stuff? Yes. But a lot of people say because of him fighting against the record label Sony, the child accusations came out. And there was a whole conspiracy about that. But there could be another thing that happens with Drake. This could be the same situation, possibly. If Universal goes that route and finds, let's just say they actually find sufficient evidence that he is that, obviously Drake's done for. Nobody's ever going to fuck with him. Anybody that's a normal person instead of a crazy stan, nobody's going to rock with him anymore. His career's done. It's over. You can't win Universal. It's done. Or it could be flipped the other way. That Drake, the reason why Drake is actually threatening to sue because they have no dirt on him. He knows that he didn't do anything crazy. Yeah, maybe he probably slept with strippers and porn star, whatever. They'll probably throw out some crazy shit like that. But did he sleep with Chili? He obviously, if he's threatening to sue, he feels confident that, hey, I didn't do any of these things. Because you wouldn't sue if something like that actually happened with you behind the scenes, because you'd be afraid that it would come out in the public. But Drake suing Universal, to me, is saying that Drake didn't actually do these things. That he's confident, like, hey, I never did these things. Universal's got no dirt on me. Kendrick's got no dirt on me because I never did these things. So that's why he's confident in suing them. And if Drake somehow beats Universal Music Group and wins this lawsuit, let's say wins $2 billion, and exposes the music industry, he will be hailed as one of the greatest artists of all time. This will be it will skyrocket him from just an artist to a legend, a figure that went against the label, put his foot down, and it will change things forever in the music industry. That's how I feel. I feel labels will get destroyed. I feel there will be no reason for labels anymore. I think it will just be Drake and the Spotify's, and that's it. Like the artist and the streaming platform, that's it. No label in between. That could go that way. Those are the only 2 ways to go. Universal destroys him, finds evidence, he's done crazy things, exposes him, all that stuff, and they put so much money into making people know that he's a pedophile, and they expose all this information about him and all this stuff and destroys his whole image and his whole thing, and then people just never like him again like they did with Diddy, R. Kelly, all this stuff. But there's actually proof of some of that stuff with both those artists. But let's just say they find proof of Drake and destroy him. It's done. He's finished. Or, it goes the other way, man. And he wins, and he exposes the music industry, and it helps all the artists in the world, because this will just help every artist. I can't see it doing damage to artists. And then I don't know where Kendrick stands in all this. It'll be interesting to see. But that's essentially my take on it. That's the breakdown of it. There's only 2 ways this can go. And I think, if Drake is really confident in doing that lawsuit, there probably is nothing on him of doing crazy things. Man, now, is there social media stuff and crazy posts? Yeah, it does look suspect. I'm not going to lie. But if Drake's confident enough to sue a company that's worth billions and billions of dollars that could potentially expose him for stuff, then he feels there's nothing on him. Nobody has anything on him and that he's never done anything like that. So you got to be confident in the fact that you never did anything like this to even sue in the first place. Because think about it. If you were accused of something and you actually did that, but you're trying to hide it and shy away from it because you don't want people to know more about it, why would you sue a company that could hire private investigators, that could bribe people, that could do all kinds of stuff, billions and billions of dollars in funds to destroy your career? That's a great, great question to ask that I don't think a lot of people are asking. But we'll see what happens. It's either Drake becomes a hero and completely catapults his legacy to the greatest ever as an artist, because Michael Jackson fought. He won some things. He lost some things. Ultimately Michael Jackson, passed away early, but I'm sure he had his own plans as well to do more. And he won in a lot of those things. So Michael Jackson won. But I don't think it would have to take more artists joining Drake. Because if Drake wins that and exposes it, a lot of artists have to come out and be like, yo, I thank Drake. I'm on Drake's side, this and that. But I don't know. These are just my theories. We'll see what happens moving forward. I'm interested in seeing if he's actually going to file these lawsuits. And let me know what you guys think of this case. It's very interesting nonetheless. Let's get into the Kendrick Lamar GNX quote-unquote album, I don't know, album, mixtape, project, whatever, review. I'm going to go over, as I always review projects, I go over what I think are the best tracks, the bad tracks, and then what I think are the neutral tracks. And then I rank them all out and then give a overall score. So let's go over the first track, which is Whacked Out Murals. This, round of applause, man. Amazing intro. It's in my good tracks or best tracks part. And the intro is just perfect. Starts out very strong. I like how the production builds up. And to me, that made it for, more interesting. I was like, listen, okay, what he's got to say about this? Whacked Out Murals. What is this about? And then it, connected to the actual mural getting destroyed and written OVO over it. So you can tell on this track he had something to get off his chest, which I really enjoyed. Kendrick's flow just got better and better as the track went on. And for me, this track also made it clear that he's the number one guy. He's like holding this crown on his head and making it clear that I don't give a fuck about how people feel. I am the GOAT right now. And nobody's going to debate that, argue with me, because I will go for their head. Hence the Lil Wayne bars, hence the all these old rappers that, have these opinions, they're washed up, blah, blah, blah. Like those lines. And then even at the last verse, he goes at Drake. So I really, really love this track. This is probably my favorite track off the whole project. So a really good track on that. The next track, Squabble Up. I immediately love this track the second it was previewed on the Not Like Us video. Broccoli, hockey, that beat, ridiculous. Insane West Coast, old school mixture. It's like, it's really out of this world, man. Shout out to the producer for that. Amazing, man. That is a sound that, like, I hope continues in Kendrick's world because it's amazing. It's a great sound. I love the sample of the girl, the old school classic. You make me dance. Like, it's just, everything about the track is perfect, and I understand why it's going to debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, which is on pace to do. That is the single off the album. There needs to be a video shot on it, and it's going to be his next number 1, clearly. So definitely shoot a video for that, Kendrick, with the GNX, and just do your thing. Love that track. The next track, let me go over the track list here. I didn't even pull up the track list, which is crazy. I want to do this in order. But this project is like, I don't know, man. It's an amazing fucking project. I think he did a great job and surprising the world with it. You really, can't get any better than that. So the next track, Luther. I had this track in the best track. Sorry, I was getting confused here. In the best tracks, I think this is single material. SZA on the hook completely killed it, and I love how both Kendrick and SZA are on the hook. And they're both complimenting each other's voices. Production is amazing. This gives me Damn vibes from 2017. I think this could have been a track on Damn easily. And the Luther Vandross sample is amazing as well. Great track. One of those tracks that definitely can be the next single off the album. Man at the Garden. Another track that I love. It's on my best tracks list. It's a great track. One when I listen to it, it makes me feel great about my accomplishments, and that I should, sometimes you feel like when you're winning a lot, and you see other people not really winning, or whatever the situation is, you kind of feel guilty about it. Or when you make money, or like whatever the case may be, sometimes you feel guilty about it. But you got to understand that this is the fruits of your hard work and labor, and that's really, in my eyes, how I see this. Right? Overall, good vibe makes you feel like you're not being selfish by getting what you deserve, and that's exactly the way I view this track, and I really enjoy it. It's a great, kind of confidence booster. Just makes you feel like, hey, what is meant to be yours is yours, and you should enjoy that. And I like the feeling of that track, and I love the little rainforest vibe sounds in the background. That also made me like the track a lot more. So I really enjoy that track. That was in my best tracks list. Hey Now. This track was my neutral track. I listened to the album, obviously, since it's released on Friday. Listened to it probably in full, I want to say 20 times, 20, 30, maybe even 40 times. I don't even know. I need to keep pace track of that. But Hey Now has always been a track that, like, throughout these days, one day I'll like it, the next day I won't. One day I'll like it, the next I won't. So that's usually when I put a track in neutral, I'm on the fence, and I don't know. It's one of those tracks where one day I'll like it, one day I won't. I don't know. I have tracks like that on every album where, I'm like, I'm not really feeling this right now, and the next time I listen to it, I'll really like it. So that's where Hey Now is at. The production is good, but to me, that's really about it. The hook, I don't really like. The verses are okay to me, and the feature artist, Dodie Six, did all right. I'm not really a too big fan of that West Coast, like, monotone, calm flow. Like, hey, I'm not really a big fan of that. So it's a track that might grow on me as time goes on, but it's definitely a neutral track for me. It's not one that I would go to immediately. Reincarnated, oh my God. Round of applause for Kendrick Lamar reinserting that he loves Tupac and that he is the second coming of Tupac, basically. Love the Tupac sample, of course. Him getting approved by the Tupac estate is also amazing. All three verses, we're talking about three different reincarnations, with the last being himself. Love the aggressive flow. He sounds a lot like Tupac on the track. Great, amazing track, man. It's on my best tracks list. Going down, TV Off is another best tracks list. Mustard! Again, kills the production. Love the Mustard line, classic. I don't understand Lefty Gunplay's outro, but it's a good look for him, so shout out to him. Repetitive hook on this one, and I'm not really a big fan of repetitive hooks, but it's done well. It's done tastefully, and I love obviously the production changes as the track goes on, which you got to give Mustard props for that, man. Feels like Kendrick has given Mustard a whole second leg in his career. People said, oh, there's only one track, gave him Not Like Us, but here we go. Another track that's going to do really well, and obviously the Mustard thing is all over the internet. It's a new meme, and that's one thing that Kendrick's really good at, man, making, like, moments, top of the moaning, top of, like, shit like that, where it's just, like, really interesting and people want to repeat it and say it. And Mustard right now, it's already on TikTok where people are, like, missing mustard on their hot dog or whatever, and they yell it. So it's going to be something that sticks around. And it's actually, I think, the number 2 or 3 track that's going to be on the Billboard Hot 100. It's going to debut at, like, number 2 or 3, right behind Squabble Up. So it's probably going to be another single potential if Kendrick really wants to go that route. So great track overall on my best tracks list. Continuing on, Dodger Blue. This is the first track on my bad tracks list. Very simple track with various features that I felt were unnecessary. And the track was super short. It didn't do anything for me. I didn't care for this track. Listened to it in full probably 3 times. And then after I was listening to the album again, I just kind of skipped over it because I can tell if a track, like, intrigues me and I want to listen to it more and more. This track just didn't do it for me. And it was the first, like, bad track on the album for me. The next bad track, and you kind of hit a kind of two-piece here, Peekaboo. Another track with a lot of repetitiveness. Features to me didn't do much as well, and the production wasn't anything special. Didn't really catch my ear. Just another track that I felt like, I skip over it after, listening to the album in full. I would skip over the Blue Dodgers and this Peekaboo track. It just didn't do anything for me. Heart Part 6. This was a neutral track for me. Throughout, let's just say I listened to the album 30 times in full. Out of those 30 times, I probably would go to it 20 times out of those 30. It has a great storytelling. It talks about, his history with a lot of TDE artists, his managers, Dave Free, Top, whoever, right? And he talks about the struggles of how he maneuvered through a lot of that stuff. How, he knew his time was coming, stuff like that. I love storytelling tracks like that. I love the hook, very soulful hook. So overall, it's got its moments for me where I like it, and then sometimes I just skip over it. So it's a neutral track for me. I didn't really go crazy over the track, and I didn't say, I didn't feel like I hated it. It's just one of those tracks that was in the middle for me. GNX, the title track, I enjoyed this track. I think it's a very, very, and this was a track that was recorded probably 2 days before the project was released. One of the artists on the track shared a text message from Kendrick when he sent over the beat, and Kendrick was like, I love this beat. I'm going to go in the studio and record like right now. Very gritty hip-hop record. It's a very, very, very dope hip-hop record. The featured artists, you can tell, are straight from the streets, and, Kendrick kind of backs them and gives this new West Coast kind of look, and he, puts his cosign to them, and they all do their thing, man. They all, kill it. I think it's the best track to showcase the new West Coast, especially from a person of the level of Kendrick Lamar. Him to co-sign a lot of these newer West Coast artists, put them on this album, very dope of him to do. So I really, really love this track. I think it's the most hip-hop type of record that you can get, the most gritty type of record you can get. So it's in my best tracks list. And then the last track, Gloria, wasn't a fan of. It's one of my bad tracks. Didn't like the production. Kendrick's flow, I can't stand it. Very monotone, just didn't really like the sounds he was making. It's one of those, it's like whatever. SZA had great vocals. That's really about it. But other than that, production, Kendrick's flow, delivery, lyrics, all that stuff I didn't really care for. It's one of those tracks that I skipped. So that's my review of GNX. I had 7 good tracks, 3 bad tracks, and then 2 neutral. And those 2 neutral could easily go from bad to good. So if we put the 2 neutral in the good, that's 9 good tracks and only 3 bad tracks. That's not bad at all, man. Out of a 12-song project, to have maybe 5 bad tracks total if you do the neutrals. Usually the neutrals, though, I usually put them in the good for the most part, because if I can tell if a track, if I have it in the neutral, maybe it just has to grow on me as time goes on. And since this project's only been out for a couple of days, it takes time. Sometimes I'll put the neutral in the bad, but it's very rare. Most of the time it goes in the good. I'm just kind of on the fence of it because there's certain parts of the track that I like and don't like. It's one of those tracks where, it depends on the mood kind of day. So let's just say the neutral goes on there. 9 out of 12 tracks being good and great there's no better. There's nothing more that you could really hope for, obviously, than going 12 for 12. But that's very hard to do. Most artists can't do that ever, in my eyes. To me, I have a very high standard for classics, and that is a classic to me, where there's no skips. Every single track is great. And there's not many artists that have ever meet that standard for me. I'm very strict on that. So to me, I don't just throw the word classic out. But this is a huge, huge salute to Kendrick Lamar. He has really seized this moment that he's had, and I love GNX. It's a great project. I give it an 8 out of 10. I was debating on if I should give it an 8.5, but I give it an 8 out of 10. I think he came out swinging. I think this is just, you could look at this as the mixtape to me, because I think he's going to come out with an actual album that's like probably longer. I don't mind 16 tracks, and he's probably going to do a lot more mainstream features on there. Maybe. Or he might just do solo, or he might just do another West Coast Brigade with a couple of features from SZA, whatever he might do, right? I think the next album's going to be a lot more mainstream, though. I think he's going to go straight for that mainstream look, because people, when Mr. Mal and Big Steppers came out, people questioned whether Kendrick could have that mainstream appeal again, which is crazy to me, because Mr. Mal and Big Steppers had a lot of mainstream records that I really loved. At least to me, felt like could go mainstream. Rich Spirit, I can't think of titles, man, on these tracks. Rich Spirit was one of them, of course. I'm forgetting titles already off the head. But regardless, I enjoyed Mr. Mal and the Big Steppers. I know people criticize it and say it didn't sell, didn't do this. I didn't really like it, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was a good album. But yeah, I give this 8 out of 10 GNX. Salute to Kendrick Lamar for releasing it. It made my Friday a whole lot better. So shout out to him. Let me know what you guys think of the project. I really enjoyed it, though. I think Kendrick is on the right path. I think he's even finding a different sound for himself, like the Broccoli record. And he's really carrying the West Coast and doing his thing and really putting on for the place. So big salute to Kendrick Lamar, and thank you for delivering this project. Speaking of new music, let's get into it. Jack Harlow dropped Hello Miss Johnson. Playboi Carti dropped TBA. WizKid dropped Mariah, the album. Andre 3000 dropped Moving Day. Lil TJ dropped Let It Go Baby. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre dropped Out of the Blue featuring Loose, which I haven't checked out. I need to see that. Fabio Foreign, Jason's Plan. Lola Brooke dropped Go to Your Head. ESTG dropped Go Out. Ice Cube dropped his Man Down album. I got to check that out as well. Finesse 2 Times dropped Art of War mixtape. Babyface E dropped Real Striker Music. Lupe Fiasco dropped Pound for Pound. And Chef G dropped Proud of Myself, the album. So check those projects out. Let's get into album sales. A Tease, Golden Hour, debuted at number 1. It's a part 2 album with 175,000 sold. Linkin Park, From Zero, debuted at number 2 with 96,000 sold. Tyler, the Creator, Chroma Pika is at number 3 with 79,000. Jin, Happy, debuted at number 4 with 70,000. Raul Alejandro, Casa Nostra, debuted at number 5 with 68,000. Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet, number 6 with 66,000. Infin, number 7 debut with 53,000. Gracie Abrams, The Secret of Us, number 8 with 49,000. Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, number 9 with 47,000. And number 10, Chappelle Roan, The Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess with 42,000. Going down the list, Rod Wave, Last Lab, number 13 with 37,000. Glorilla, Glorious, number 14 with 35,000. SZA SOS, number 15 with 33,000. MF Doom, Food, number 18 debut with 28,000. Going down the list, BX The Plug, Take Care, number 22 with 26,000. Mariah Carey's Merry Christmas album is climbing up with 19,000. That's insane. Future Mixtape, Pluto, number 43 with 17,000. Eminem Curtain Call, number 44 with 17,000. Travis Scott, Utopia, number 47 with 16,000. Future Metro Boomin, We Don't Trust You, number 49 with 16,000. And Drake, Take Care, at number 50 with 15,000, almost 16,000. Continuing on, Billboard Hot 100, Shaboozey is still at number 1. It's been 19 weeks at number 1, a bar song. Insane. Round of applause to him. Number 2, Die With a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. Number 3, Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish. Number 4, Lose Control, Teddy Swims. Number 5, Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter. Number 6, That's So True, Gracie Abrams. Number 7, I Had Some Help, Post Malone, Morgan Wallen. Number 8, Taste, Sabrina Carpenter. Number 9, Beautiful Things, Benson Bone. And number 10, Love Somebody, Morgan Wallen. Number 11, Sticky, Tyler, the Creator, Glorilla, Sexy Red, Lil Wayne. Going down the list, Timeless, The Weeknd and Playboi Carti, number 14. All I Want for Christmas Is You, re-entered at number 16 on the charts. Mariah Carey, that's interesting. What You Know About Me, Glorilla, number 17. Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us, number 19. That's actually climbing up. It's probably going to be up the charts because of this whole pre-lawsuit stuff that, Drake has done. Like Him, Tyler, the Creator, number 35. Saint Chroma, Tyler, the Creator, number 37. Going down the list, TGIF, Glorilla, number 42. A bunch of Christmas songs coming up on these charts, which is crazy. Insecurities, Lil Baby, number 56. Darling I, Tyler, the Creator, number 57. Rod Wave, 25, number 63. Song is called 25. Chris Brown, Residuals, number 66. AGATS2, Insecure, Juice WRLD, and Nicki Minaj debuted at number 68. Ratatata, Tyler, the Creator, number 70. I Love Her, Glorilla and T-Pain, number 72. Thought I Was Dead, Tyler, the Creator, number 75. Boss Man D-Lo, Shake That Ass, number 78. Going down the list, Noid, Tyler, the Creator, number 84. Him All Along, Gunna, number 85. Lotto, Brokey, number 98. And the Balloon, Tyler, the Creator, number 99. And On One Tonight, Gunna, number 100. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Appreciate you guys, as always, for supporting Spotify, Deezer, Pocket Cast, YouTube. Once again, I apologize. I can't control certain things, aspects of my life. Appreciative to be here. Thank you all always for supporting me and for being there for me. It means the world. Hope you guys have an amazing day or night whenever you listen to this, and peace.